Hello, and this is part 6 of creating a third-person shooter in Unity. Last time we looked at sort of targeting and shooting and all those sort of bits and bobs, and we created a fire script, and yeah, it works perfectly fine. We detected it with the raycast shooting a single line at these targets until it eventually hits a collider, and then it sent back the message and the name of each collider. In this case, we used 3 cubes, as you can see in front of our game, and the signal that sent back was the names of the target 1, 2, and 3. But it would send back any kind of name of any collider that we hit if we shot out directly from our crosshair. This week we are going to look at putting together an enemy AI. I think this is what most people like to do or kind of look for, certainly what people ask me about the most. What you can do is create kind of a really interesting kind of nav mesh system within Unity. What we're going to do here, because we're kind of learning everything from scratch and doing everything from scratch, that's exactly what we're going to do here with this tutorial today, is creating an enemy AI system absolutely from scratch using C# script, but taking things that we've already done, or already used, and we know how to manipulate. So things like character controller, we're going to use that. But again, just imagine that we're the enemy and say, oh, okay, what target are we attacking? We're attacking the player, and going from there, kind of seeing it from that perspective. And when you think about it and look at it from that kind of point of view, it's a lot easier to kind of understand. So we need to set up our enemy first. So what we're going to do is let's just make a cube. So let's create a cube, put him up here, send him over there, and let's just scale him out quick. I'll scale him up. He's not too big and scary, but big enough. There we go, that looks good there. Okay, so and let's just quickly call him enemy. So it's going to create a cube, call him enemy, hit that, and then we can create a material. So I don't want him to look like the targets. So what we're going to do, create a new folder. As you know, if you know me, love to keep organized. So materials, double click, right click, create material. Let's call this just enemy for now. Enemies are usually red or something like that. That's going to look quite good. Just filling around here, get a little bit of smoothness on there, a little bit more metallic. Cool, lovely. And then we can stick that on our enemy as well, just like that. Once we've done that, we can create a prefab for our, let's create a prefab folder. So again, another folder, call this prefabs. Cool. Okay, before we create a prefab out of our enemy, let's set up our enemy first so he's working and shipshape in order. So the first thing we're going to do is, just like we created our player, which is here, we are going to create we're going to put them together and control his movements by using a character controller, like you can see on our player. So again, it's going to be almost not identical, but you'll be like, oh, okay, I kind of see what you're doing here. But you'll be able to look at your player script and be able to manipulate it into an enemy AI script. So what I'm going to do is we're going to remove the component of our box collider. We're going to add a component which is going to be a character controller. Let's just have a look at that collider. Has that gone all the way around? kinda. If it hasn't, we can just double check. We press play and he falls through the floor. We know we've got an issue. Oh, it's just stuck there for now. Oh yeah, because we haven't checked if he's grounded and we haven't dictated his gravity. That is perfectly fine. Let's not worry about that. Okay, so that will come back in later. That's fine. So we've added our character controller, taken that over. Added our character controller, no box collider. Let's add him into our prefabs folder. So let's double click into our prefabs folder and put our enemy in there. Lovely. So there is our enemy, all prefabbed and lovely. So there he is. So no overrides to at the moment. That's fine. It's good. If we do add anything in later on to our enemy, we can just easily go to overrides, and there'll be a click button. We'll say apply all if we have added anything to our prefab, and then that can be sort of transferred over. Because what we will eventually do is spawn enemies, as you do in any kind of third person, first person kind of enemy orientated kind of game. Okay, so in our scripts folder, what we're going to do is right click, go to create, and we're going to create a brand new script and call this enemy AI. Just like that, and double click. Cool, lovely. Look at that, opening straight away. Let's think. Okay, so first things first, we need to write in a reference for our character controller, because if we look at our player script, we've got private character controller underscore controller. Let's do the same. Let's say private character controller, and instead of calling this underscore controller, I'm going to say underscore AI controller, just so I know what I'm doing. And just, you know, you can name underscore controller, it doesn't matter because it's a private field. That's absolutely fine. Next, we're going to write a script where our enemy AI object will follow or just create a path towards our player. And what we need to do is pretty much tell this script who our player is. So what we're going to do is say, let's say private transform, and we'll just call this underscore player for our player, just like that. And then what we're going to do is quickly go back into Unity, click on our player, and make sure where it says tag and it says untagged, we're just going to change that to player, just like that. And then we can call that up. So if we go back to Visual Studio, we can call that up, that's fine. And let us, no, right, we can write some other variables in just a second. So what we're going to do here is exactly what we did before. So AI controller equals get component, then that component is character controller, open bracket, close bracket, semicolon. We then can say underscore player is equal to our game object, and then we can use something called find object with tag. Very, very handy. And then obviously we've already tagged our player, so we can just call up the tag of player, and then we have to say how we are getting to that object. So it's going to be in the form of transform, semicolon, all done and dusted. Nice and easy. So we need to create gravity for our AI system and movement through velocity. Okay, so first is we're going to do a bit of pseudocode and check if we are grounded. So if you can't remember this before, you can either watch along, or it's, as I said, almost identical to the player script. So what we're going to say is we're going to say if brackets underscore AI controller is grounded. There it is. Equals true. So it's definitely true. We can say vector 3 direction. And so we're in the path of where we want our player or enemy to go is underscore player dot position. So to the position of our player minus the transform. Oh, what's happening? Minus transform dot position. Okay, lovely. Have I spelled position right? No, I haven't. There we go. Cool. So it's saying our vector 3 in our direction is going to follow our player position minusing its own transform position. Okay, so it's always going to try and match our transform position. And essentially that means it's just going to constantly follow us. Okay, so whatever that transform position of the enemy is, it will minus it and swap it out for our position, creating this kind of following pattern. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is create a variable for speed. So, and then again we can edit this within Unity. If we do serialize field and then a private float. Now it's terrible spelling. Private float, not flat. Private float underscore speed. Lowercase s looks better. Let's say 2.5. Did we change it to not 25? That'd be scary. 2.5. What's our speed here? 6. Yeah, or 3. Let's try 3. Just equals to 3f. So it's half the speed. So it gives us a fighting chance to get away from the enemy. And we also need to dictate our movement with velocity. So we can quickly do that by saying, if we just do this under here and say underscore AI controller. So this is to get our movement. Dot move will be our, so we need a velocity because we've looked, if you remember before when we created our movement for the player, we had velocity, or did we use direction? Let's have a look. So it must have been within the movement. There it is. It's grounded. Direction's a new direction times by equals speed. Yeah, let's just call this something different because I've said direction now. So let's create a new variable. Let's just call this a private, because that would be a vector 3. Private vector 3 underscore velocity. And let's, oh yeah, we don't need anything with it. So in here we can say underscore of our velocity, which is then times by time dot delta time. So it moves in time. Cool. Then if we go back to here, we can then say our vector 3 underscore velocity. Oh, it's not popping up. Interesting. Why is that not coming up? Equals direction. Oh, it doesn't. Hasn't said it doesn't like it. Times by underscore speed. Cool, lovely. Right, let's just sort out our gravity, which would be underscore velocity again. Dot y is then minus equals to our gravity, but we haven't created gravity, so again we need to come up here. Let's create a gravity. So private floats. Let's make sure I can write things properly. Private floats underscore gravity is equal to, gravity is 20, so let's do 20f again. There we go. And then we can say underscore gravity. Cool. Okay, that looks like it should work. Not too sure about this line. It should have just popped up, but doesn't matter. We'll test it out. Okay, so once we've done that, what we can do is go to, let's see if we've got any compiling errors. That's fine. Click on enemy, grab that script, add it, come on, work. There we go. Cannot we construct a prefab instance? Can't we just do the override, open prefab? Can we just then add that script to there? There we go, and then out of that. Cool. Overrides. Okay, fine. Let's just take it. Cool. So speed of 3. Let's see if this works. So if we press play. Oh, something's. So we're moving. Okay. So something's not quite right there within our player. Okay, let's just come out of this. So quick look at our script. So that's fine. Pick to 3. So what is this saying here? Let's have a look. Local variable underscore velocity hides the field of. Oh, okay. Sorry, total error there. So what we've done is I've kind of doubled up. I don't need to state vector 3 here because Unity or the C# already knows, because it's in world space and not just a local variable, to update. So if we get rid of that, hopefully save that script in here. Cool, no compile errors, and he should. Lovely, there we go. So if I start to move around, I've got a very clingy enemy AI that just wants to be my mate. He needs to go away. Okay, so as you can see, we need to. It's quite smooth actually, but we need to sort that out because he absolutely won't leave us alone at all. So what we can do is slow that down here. Let's kill him off. We can fix this by using something called normalize, and essentially what normalize does. So if we click on scripting API, let's go to normalize. I think that's how you spell it. Or I've probably spelled it wrong. No. Oh no. Oh yeah, I spelled it. Quaternion normalize. Oh man, there's lots. So I want vector 3 normalize makes a vector in a magnitude of 1. Cool. So when normalized, a vector keeps the same direction, but its length is 1. So what that, even that's really hard to kind of explain as well. Essentially, it just chills out our enemy AI. So if we go back into Unity, I can show you what that means. Because at the moment, as we've seen, he is massively clingy here. And he's doing the right thing. We haven't scripted this wrong. It's just there's just things that we need to add in. So if we go to our script, if we go to here, and if we say direction dot normalize, there it is, and then brackets, semicolon. This should sort out our following AI problem. Let that compile. Press play. So, and this should just slow down our AI. There we go. There we go. He's giving it a bit more So the volume of 1 or volume of 1 is he's always following us, but only at a pace of 1, always keeping a gap or of a magnitude of 1, as we can see there as we move around, trying to escape the enemy. Okay, this video has already gone far too long, so what we'll do in the next video is look at making sure the enemy will face us, especially if we want to put a model in here of a character shooting us, for just as an example. We want them to face us and not just follow us in this weird kind of red, how the red block is doing. So thank you very much, and sorry about the confusion of getting all these bits wrong, but you know, these things happen. This is why we use Scripts and API to help us as well. Go through it. As I said, it's kind of very closely matched with the player script, and I hope you get your AI following you.